What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
And this is a review. And then some spoiler review at the... we'll let you know where the line is.
Yeah.
There'll be a flash on screen of imagery that says spoilers.
It'll say Shazam.
It probably will. This is for Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods. We just watched it and we just got home reaction review thing.
Yeah. We just finished it. And it was a movie.
It is a whole movie.
Yeah.
It has a beginning, a middle, an end, a mid-credit scene, and a post-credit scene. The last two we'll talk about after the spoiler thing.
Yeah, for sure. If you're going to go see it, you want to make sure you watch both because they're there.
In this post-credit scene for Shazam 1, we see Dr. Sylvana? Yeah. Talking to Mr. Mind, the caterpillar. And so naturally, this movie is about the Shazamily taking on Mr. Mind. No, it's not. It's not at all about that. It is about the Daughters of Atlas.
You are very menacing. I just want you to know that.
Who have come to get revenge? Question mark? Maybe. And there's your review.
Yeah. Why are people doing what they're doing?
Great question. You know what doesn't answer that question? The movie.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable film directed by David F. Sandberg, same director from the first movie, starring mostly the same people. Obviously, Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, and Rachel Ziegler are the new additions to the cast. The first two as Daughters of Atlas, and Rachel Ziegler as a high school student named Anne that shows up and is new to the kids' school. That's pretty much the cast. Also, Bader, oh my God, Diedrich Bader is in the movie as a teacher. Nice. And he's great. And I love every time I get to see his face.
Yeah, no, he's great.
But let's get into it. What did you think of Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods?
You know...
Were the gods furious?
They were. There was some fury there. It's not great, unfortunately. It is fine. It is like, yeah, it's all right. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? It's fun. I was like, this movie's fun. It's kind of like dumb fun. But I was enjoying myself. You know, I was like, if I was going to rate the movie, I'd maybe like give it like a 6 out of 10. But my enjoyment was like an 8 out of 10. I was on board with the humor and, like the... The cast
has enough like charisma together.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was like, I'm still enjoying myself. So, you know, I'll make sure that... that I say that because I think it's worth saying. And then the end happened and it kind of pissed me off. So I'm gonna go with like...
That's for after the spoiler talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with like a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
I think that's fair. I think the movie... I really like the first half hour. I think the first half hour of the movie sets up something really interesting. It sets up an emotional arc for Shazam.
That doesn't really pay off.
It kind of does. I think what the problem for me is that the movie very quickly gets bogged down in there are 6 members of the Shazamily, the 2 parents, and also the Daughters of Atlas stuff. Everything that has to be explained for them and the locations and who is where and why people are where very quickly becomes a significant chunk of the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
The just having to explain what every single person is up to really slows the film down for a chunk.
Plus
and
them trying to figure out who these people are and what their deal is.
Yeah. And then getting into the plot of like the confrontation between good and evil for the end of the movie, getting to that is so convoluted.
Yeah.
And also so simple. Like it is both this like incredibly simple plot, but also like it has needless steps in it to get from point A to point Z.
Yeah.
And so while I was enjoying myself, there's a lot of convenient stuff that needs to happen in order for the plot to happen. And there's a lot of unexplained tropey stuff that kind of goes into getting all of these characters through to whatever the final thing is that we'll talk about after the spoiler break.
Yeah.
And so I really like the characters. I think Zachary Levi is still leading the franchise in a really funny way.
He's fantastic.
Asher Angel is leading the franchise in a dramatic way. And the weakness of the character of Billy Batson Shazam is that the character is really split between those 2 personalities.
Yeah.
Like, when he's Shazam, he's an idiot and he's funny and he's unsure of himself and all of those things. And then when he's Billy Batson, he's not that dumb. pretty pragmatic, pretty like good at speaking to people.
He's also very rarely Billy.
That's true, yeah.
In this movie, for sure. Billy takes a backseat to Shazam in it. I have to say the effects looked great.
Yeah, visuals look great.
I think across the board, the creature designs are really, really cool. The magic is cool. Everything is like well crafted in terms of CGI and design.
I agree with that. I think some of the creature designs, if you've seen the trailers, you know what we're talking about, are excellent. Like, I think a lot of the CGI of the creatures looks really good.
Although on that note, I actually would not watch the trailers before watching this movie.
The trailers spoil everything.
Yeah.
Literally all of it. Including a character that...
Yeah, I wouldn't watch trailers, to be honest. I would just go watch the movie if you want to see it. It is fun. The other weird thing is that Shazam feels like it's more family friendly and marketed as family friendly when it's not really.
The character is.
Sure. I just mean like there were like young children in the row in front of us who were terrified.
They were having a bad time.
They were not enjoying it. Like the one little girl was like had to like crawl into her father's lap to be okay. So just something to consider if you're taking your children. What's
weird about it is there's a similar thing in the first movie, but I think the first movie, like the office scene in the first movie is very horrifying.
But it's
a little bit more obfuscated visually.
Yes.
There are a couple of moments in this movie that are like
dark.
Very, very dark. Like uncomfortably dark.
Yeah.
While also none of the characters want to treat them that way, except Freddy. I think that what's weird is what's the actor's name? Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays young Freddy. He carries a lot of the movie. Honestly, I think that he is given a lot of work in partially because of the plot in making the world seem real. Like a lot of the weight of the world is put on his shoulders so that Shazam can kind of be the fun superhero who kind of is like, shooting lightning and doing all that stuff. And Freddy's kind of the one character who treats that stuff as dark as it is because he's the only one who interacts with it in any real way. But I think that the visual gruesomeness of this film does not match the fact that a lot of the leads are kids and the leads are kids watching like insanely horrific things happen.
Yeah. It's weird.
We'll get into it in the spoilers, but like there's some stuff in this movie that I'm like, these tones don't match.
No.
But
no, they don't. They were trying to be two different things.
Because David F. Sandberg is a director who is a well-known horror director. He's a very talented man. That stuff is some of the best directed stuff in the movie. It's some of the most, it's kind of like Shazam 1, which I thought like the office scene was one of the most effective scenes in that movie. I think that when he does go to that darker place, it is some of the best stuff we see.
Yeah.
But I think that it might be an indication that he is maybe not the right hand to be at the front of this vessel. If they want the dumb slapsticky comedy to be as childish as it is.
Yeah, if they want to make this movie more family friendly.
I don't think it is.
This one is not.
Look, I'm going to straight up say this. If you have a kid and you're thinking about taking him, there is a scene where a person, like a human person, gets fully impaled through the chest and thrown to their death. And I'm not saying that to spoil anything. I'm just saying that because like if you're thinking about bringing a child, that moment freaked the out of the kid in front of us.
Yeah.
Because it's a human person being impaled. Like it wasn't, and it's not like vaguely in the background or behind it's not like cut away from it. It's is like the center of the frame is an adult woman just getting, and you're like, oh, that seems weird considering the joke that follows is about like something so like dumb that you're like, these two things don't go together.
Yeah. It's a little jarring. Unfortunately, the film is not cohesive tonally.
And there's great stuff. I think Megan Good continues to crush it as Darla. I think the parents both have really good arcs in the movie. I think, unfortunately, all the Daughters of Atlas, I mean, it's Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. You'd think that, like, they're good in everything. Not really in this. Like, all of the Daughters of Atlas are kind of the villains. Their motivations and their plot and the choices that they make feel very much like
it's messy.
2004 Fantastic Four. You know what I mean? Like,
It's a
it
little
doesn't
messy, yeah.
feel like a post
Yeah.
Iron Man MCU, post Batman Begins kind of superhero movie.
Yeah.
It feels like that like superhero movie from my youth where it was like, these people have superheroes and they are bad
Yeah, like
for reasons.
Don't
and
worry about the plot of it. It's just kind of fun superhero-y stuff. Like, oh, look what we can do.
Which just isn't impressive anymore because we've seen it.
Yeah. The one last thing that I will say in the non-spoiler is that the editing sometimes is very strange. Like, the camera lingers too long on moments where nobody's doing anything. They're waiting for the other person to do something even though they should be acting. Like, the breath that's in between action beats is too long.
There's one hug in the movie later on. I won't say it's between, but there's a hug that you can tell the actors stop acting, but the edit goes on for some reason for like another second after they've clearly stopped being in the scene.
Or like, you know, like the like villain or whoever it is. So somebody will go to like strike somebody. Cut. Like there's like these weird elongated holds that feel slow and sloppy in a way that like is super unnecessary. If you just clipped it by a few like milliseconds, it would feel less clunky.
Yeah.
But it's very odd.
It's a shame. I like the opening action sequence a lot.
Yeah.
I like the first two action sequences. I like a lot of what the setup is. But then those narratives don't really go. Those narratives aren't carried over once we have to get into the weight of explaining the gods of it all.
Yeah.
And I think that because there are so many leads in this movie, I think they would have been better served having a simpler plot for the villains, so that they could have spent more time with Mary, the sister, who I feel like is totally wasted in this movie.
Yeah.
And really focus on the Shazamily a little bit more, instead of just kind of having them hang out in the Rock of Eternity so that we can explain all of the other elements of the movie that have to happen so that the audience has any clue why characters are doing what they do. And I'm not going to lie, despite that, and despite the fact that I read comics, like you don't have to explain as much to me, I feel like, because I've read it before. You're just showing me a different version of it. I got to the end of the movie being like, I don't really get why these characters are doing this.
Yeah, and let's get into that.
Spoilers.
Unless you have any more non-spoiler stuff.
Do you like this more or Black Adam more? The two Shazam movies that came out in the last year. Are you a Black Adam fan or a Shazam fan?
I definitely had a lot more fun in this movie and would watch this again over Black Adam, but I don't think it's a better movie.
Oh, I think this is a much better movie.
Really?
Yeah, the CGI is so much better. Like,
the CGI
visually it's better. I think that it isn't. Black Adam's just kind of lifeless to me. Because I've seen it twice now. And
like, I might give Black Adam, I can't remember what I gave it, but, you know, like, it's like a 5 out of 10, and this is like a 5.5 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the comedy in this movie worked for me, and none of the comedy in Black Adam worked.
Yeah.
Like, all of it really fell flat for me, especially on a rewatch. And maybe on a rewatch, this movie will have a similar thing. Mm-hmm. But for having seen Black Adam once, or seen Black Adam twice, and seen this movie once, I think that, like, I will say I think that this is more enjoyable and better looking than Black Adam. And
better
also,
looking,
the final fight is 1,000 times better because the final fight in Black Adam is crap. Especially on a rewatch. I was like, what? Wait.
Yeah. No, I would never watch Black Adam again. I might, like, throw this on again, but, like,
I like, maybe if they get a Shazam 3, I'll watch it again before that. But other than that, I don't think I would watch this again.
No, I'm just saying, I had a better experience watching this.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they're both... Anyway, spoilers.
Shall we spoil it up?
Spoiler alert. Shazam! Spoilers.
Let's go!
Can you do, like, a lightning bolt?
Shazam starts with an incredible sequence. Truly. This is spoilers, I'm warning you. We're going to go through the whole movie. Incredible sequence to start the film.
We're not going through the whole movie. That takes too long.
Incredible sequence where Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are really great villains for the only time they will be for the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, that opening sequence is so much better than any other time they're on screen for the rest of the movie that it's, like, unfortunate.
Yeah. Like, they kind of suck afterwards.
They steal the staff back from the museum, which I was like, oh, Wonder Woman. No, not yet.
No, not yet.
But don't worry, they spoiled that she's in the movie in the trailers, and she does come in at the very last second. We'll talk about that later. So they have a great action sequence. I thought the way they used the magic in the sequence was the best use of magic in the movie.
Yep, definitely.
Really, really cool stuff.
Yeah,
like,
the
creative.
movie started strong.
I was so into this opening scene.
Yeah.
I think it is just horrifying in a way that isn't as, like, bloody as it gets later on in the movie.
Yeah, less like scary for kids. You know, it's horror, but it's horrifying, the implications of it, but it's not like scary for young children.
So then we cut to the Billy Batson family. They have been Shazamming around the house. So the house is has burn marks everywhere, but the parents are idiots and can't figure out that their kids are the fiascos.
They're like, our house keeps getting struck by lightning.
Even though the kids keep leaving, there are 6 of the fiascos that just happen to racially be the exact same profile as their 6 children who keep leaving to fight crime and then go outside and Shazam up in the driveway. Like, they get 5 feet from the house, and the parents are like, I don't know where our kids are right now. And you're like, what are you talking about? You have windows.
And they also have neighbors. Like, there are plenty of people around for them to see them Shazam up.
When the movie reveals that the parents don't know that the kids are the Shazamily, I was so confused because that scene made me think that everybody was just on board.
Well, I thought that the parents knew, but they weren't letting on that they knew. And then when they show up, later, I figured the parents would be like, yeah, we kind of figured.
No, they're like, what's happening? You're like, how did you not? You have windows.
I'm like, I don't know how you missed that so hard.
Yeah, and so it's weird because then the movie sets up later that the Shazamily can teleport anywhere through doors. So I'm like, why are you not just going up to your room and going through a closet? It's weird, but just have a tree house that you go through a door to the Rock of Eternity, Shazam up there, and then open a door to wherever you're going so that your parents don't know. It just seemed like the subterfuge. It seems like the movie wanted us to know that there was subterfuge going on, but what they were doing was so obvious that I never considered subterfuge. I thought they were being open with their parents, so that when the parent reveal happens, I was like, wait, we were hiding this? When were you hiding this from them?
They didn't hide it very well. They're also not super cohesive as a group.
Mm-hmm.
They go to save people on a bridge, and they save all the people, no problem, but the bridge collapses. They were not successful in saving the bridge, which, the people is more important. But this is the only time that we really get a lot of personality from each of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like we lost everybody's personality going through the movie. Except Mary, she kind of never does.
Mary's personality is that she's studying organic biology even though she's not in university, which I think is very strange.
And she wants friends. Because she's got no one her own age.
But, what is she doing during the day? Why not just go to... Philadelphia has some amazing universities. I understand not going cross-country for university because you have superpowers now and things are a little bit weird. But why not go to university locally? And why are you studying organic biology on your own?
And she's like, I want to get a job. And
no, she has a job. She's working.
No, Zachary Levi's like, what do you mean? We're busy. You have a job. We're superheroes. And she's like, no.
Why do you want to go to work?
Trying to help. I'm trying to help out the people who helped me.
Yeah, the organic biology thing's weird. Also, the storyline that I feel like was dropped was Freddie Freeman is set up to have this huge ego.
Yeah.
That ego disappears as soon as he meets a girl, and the storyline of his ego never comes back.
So this is by far the worst part of the movie. Is this whole love.
Oh yeah, it never works.
Bullshit that we're supposed to buy into.
We're supposed to buy that a 6,000-year-old god. I hope you've seen the movie because we're not going to talk through every beat of it. But a 6,000-year-old god falls in love with a 16-year-old boy, or maybe 17-year-old boy. Because I think he's 6 months from being 18. But a 17-year-old boy immediately...
Shazam is 6 months from being 18.
No, he's 5 months, and Freddy's 1 month younger than him.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it's fine. He's 17 and she's
from being 18.
6,000.
And she falls in love with him immediately because he makes her laugh while bullies hit on her and then beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, she thinks it's endearing, I guess.
But the setup of this movie... Look, I went in knowing that she was Anthea, right? I knew going in that she had superpowers because I've seen the trailers, and I knew that she was one of the daughters of Atlas. And so when she falls in love with him, I was like, oh, she's faking it because she is tricking him. But then she's actually in love with him, even though she knew that she was tricking him by faking being in love with him. And the fact that she legitimately seems to love him is the most baffling, like, reveal of the film for me.
It's fucking bonkers. It's really weird.
Because she never behaves as if she's 6,000.
No.
And that, I don't think that's necessarily Rachel Ziegler's fault. I think there's nothing in the writing that gives her room to be 6,000.
They don't give her a lot, except for her to be, like, mooning over this guy. Honestly, like, that's kind of, like, all she does. And she's like, no, not all humans. And it's like, you just got here. I don't know how long you've been here. You just arrived. Give it a second. Humans suck.
Freddie gets punched in the stomach, and she's like, I renounce my family.
Yeah.
I renounce... That child is my future husband, even though I am 6,000 years old. And even the movie remarks that the parents are like, this is weird, right? But then at the dinner at the end, she's still fucking at dinner, and the parents are like, nah, it's chill now. We thought about it, and it's actually super cool for our 17-year-old son to be in love with a 6,000-year-old god. Because he was willing to get punched in the stomach to make her laugh. And then Diedrich, in that bullying scene, Diedrich Bader, the teacher, comes over and is like, hey, don't beat up the disabled child and break his accessibility tool. Like, it's so fucking weird. And they're like, oh, no, we weren't doing that. And he's like, you scamps. I saved you. And I'm like, no, you didn't.
No, he literally watches them fuck around with this kid and then gives zero reprimand, zero punishment, no detention, no principal's office. Literally, he's like, kids. I was like, what the fuck?
Get out of here.
They literally take his, like, cane?
Accessibility tool is his, and like bend it, like, and I don't feel like you can only bend that metal so many times before it just breaks, right? Like that. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
The stability of that device is now completely compromised because of these folds in the metal that these kids put into it. They ruined it. And he's like,
how about you boys get out of here?
I hate...
And then Freddie's like, thanks, man, you saved me. And I saved him from what?
Didn't. Getting, like, put in the garbage can, I guess.
I don't care about getting tossed in the garbage can. They punched me in the stomach and broke my cane.
Yeah.
Like the ratio. And then he, like, goes to the locker and bends it back. And, like, whatever, it still works. That's fine.
Yeah, he just bends it back. Okay.
But then the overcompensation of Diedrich Bader's, like, punishment for being a bad teacher is that he is murdered.
Straight up.
He is forced to commit suicide on screen in a fucking kids movie. And this is one of the moments where I'm like, this is tonally not the same as the rest of the film.
There was like a 6-year-old maybe in front of us.
Yeah, and there were two of them and they freaked out because it was a fucking, like,
this guy walks off a building and you hear him splatter, and they
joke about how humans pop like grapes.
Yeah, Calypso's like, so I forgot how easily they pop.
If this movie was rated older, and if it had a different maturity score, it wouldn't bother me because it was like horrifying in a way that was very effective.
Yeah.
But it's too effective for how dumb the rest of the film is.
Yeah.
You can't put, like, the trailers out of, like, oh, I'm Shazam and I'm in therapy with my pediatrician because I'm an idiot, and be like, this is a kid's movie because look at all the kids in the movie, like Darla, who's 11. But then in the actual movie, when you bring your kids to the movie, they're like, and then watches this teacher is forced to commit suicide by Lucy Liu whispering in his ear, and you hear his body impact the concrete at the bottom of the drop. It's fucked up.
It is.
It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
And, like,
I was like, what am I watching?
It's not too mature for me, right? And, like, I'm worried about those kids in front of us who saw, and the woman getting impaled by the manticore tail and then thrown, and also that guy's head impacting on that thing. Like, there's some violent fucking shit in this movie.
Yeah, they throw people
It's so
around.
weird.
It is weird. Like, I was like, I'm concerned. Like, I don't know how these parents are dealing with it, because there was 3 or 4 kids in that family, like, directly in front of us. So, like, we could see everything that was going on. And, like, I do not think they were having a good time.
Yeah, that stuff threw me off. It definitely got in the way of my enjoyment of the film because I was so busy thinking about... It forced me to reckon with it in a movie that doesn't feel like I should be reckoning with someone being forced to commit suicide. Like, it just doesn't feel like that is what this kind of film should be about.
Yeah.
But it's there. And Freddie Freeman's reaction to it, the actor, Jack Dylan Grazer, I can't read. He plays the emotional beat so honestly and so well. I think that he really is one of the better parts of the film, but he plays that beat so well that like you do feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
And then there's like jokes about how like unicorns will turn on their friends if you Skittles taste the rainbow, right? Like this movie has those two elements to it, and they don't.
The product placement, y'all.
They don't line up because the movie is marketed as being the Skittles movie. I don't mind those two things being in the same movie if you market the fact that it's going to be the movie where like some really dark, violent visual shit happens.
Yeah, I would not take my 6-year-old, you know, like that. It's kind of a lot.
But if you watch the trailers, I don't think you get that. Also, Darla said, there's a joke about Darla saying motherfucker in this movie that is very funny, except for the fact that it isn't an adult movie.
Yeah. It's very confusing.
So, like, I think that, like, I think that that is a loss. I think that part of the reason why this movie is not going to make as much money as I know they're hoping to is I think that parent groups are going to be upset about it.
Yeah.
And I think that this is one of those cases where I actually do think that they're right to be.
Yeah.
I think parental backlash to this film is actually appropriate given what I watched and what the marketing was. If the marketing was different, I would feel different. But the marketing is like, look, Wonder Woman's in it. Look, it's
dragon.
Funny.
Yeah.
There's a dragon. But then when you actually see the movie, there's a few things that I'm like, that's not for kids, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you.
Also, let's fucking get into it. Shazam dies. Not like kind of dies. He's brought back, obviously, in the biggest cop-out in the history of superhero cinema.
Before we get to the end, I was going to say we should at least be like, the villain story kind of makes no sense. Their motivation is kind of all over the place, and so it doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, so Shazam broke the staff in the first movie, which allowed the realms between the god world and the human world to break. So the Daughters of Atlas were now able to come to Earth.
Yes.
And the staff had somehow ended up in Greece, even though it had been broken and found in a landfill in Newark. And so they found it in Greece, I guess. They get their magic powers back, and then they decide to get revenge. So they go to the wizard. They force the wizard to tell them where...
Well, they go to get their powers back. And
they force him to fix the staff.
Yeah, so the wizard is forced to fix the staff because they actually already have their powers. And
very confused. I think they needed the staff fixed to go fight Shazam, maybe?
Yeah, but like they each have a half of the staff in their hands, and they do their magic stuff, and they can kind of do whatever. So yeah, I guess the staff was to steal the powers back from the kids, but the staff doesn't actually steal the powers from the kids to give to them. It takes them away from the kids.
And then it just keeps the powers.
And it just keeps them because they don't want the kids to have them.
And so the plot is set up as they want to steal the powers back because it's their dad's power. Atlas.
Yeah.
But then there's a point in the movie where Helen Mirren gets kidnapped, and they're like, oh my god, she wanted to get kidnapped. I'm so fucking tired of this trope. Please stop doing it. It's never good. I get it. The Joker did it, and Loki did it in the same year. In two of the biggest movies of all time. I get that it happened twice, but then it has happened in every fucking franchise since. Khan did it in fucking Benedict Cumberbatch's Into the Darkness of Star Trek movie. We don't need to keep having the villain be like, no, actually I wanted to get kidnapped so that I could steal. So what we reveal though is Helen Mirren gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
It's actually a half decent fight scene to get her there.
No,
there's like a couple of funny beats in it, but like...
That's the scene where all the cuts are way too long of people doing nothing, and then...
I said half decent.
Okay, fine. It was all right. It was all right.
It wasn't great, but it was all right.
The cuts are very strange.
Yes. There's also the Helen Mirren joke, the Fast and the Furious joke that I don't love. So then... At this point, we find out that the goddesses don't actually want to steal the powers of the Shazamily. I mean, they do, but actually their real goal was to get an apple that the Shazamily had just happened to be playing with earlier in the magic giant library that they have that Pedro found that he didn't tell anyone about.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to, I don't know, hide that the pen, his friend Steve, and maybe he's in like a homoerotic relationship with the pen. I don't really know. So
he is a child.
I know, but like also like
It's weird.
I don't know why he didn't tell people about it. It's a weird movie.
I don't get it.
So then we find out that the actual plan is that the Daughters of Atlas wanted to steal this apple because the apple is the only thing that can bring their world back to life. But as soon as they have the apple, they immediately start arguing because Lucy Liu actually wants to not bring their world back to life. She wants to take the apple to the human world so that it will create monsters so that she can get revenge on the humans who weren't the people that hurt her. The wizard did, and she already had him captive, but he got out.
She just hates humans a lot. She's like, stupid humans.
As far as she's concerned, he's still like a prisoner at that point. No, because at this point, they've sent them down to the pit and met the dragon, and then Anthea does her Doctor Strange magic and gets him out.
No, at this point, they throw them down in the labyrinth. Anthea has taken them out of there, but she doesn't know that yet, right? Because then they steal the apple.
No, they drop them in the pit, and then Anthea puts them in the labyrinth. Because the labyrinth is back to there.
You're right.
So then they have the apple, and the apple is going to bring their world back to life, which seems great, right? Seems like positive. No, Lucy Liu is still mad, and so she steals the apple and the staff in a scene that involves her just like, Helen Mirren comes over, grabs the staff, and Lucy Liu goes, no. And then they just leave from there?
Well, she's like, no, and she like summons the dragon, and so I guess Helen Mirren is like, oh shit, well the dragon kind of makes things complicated, so she doesn't do anything about it. Until they get to Earth.
Freddie Freeman rolls a natural 20 on stealth. This argument over what the plan is for the villains makes the villains seem so like hackneyed because it's like, why would you give up the only thing that can bring your world back to life to have monsters kill Philadelphia? Like killing the people of Philadelphia just doesn't seem grand enough for a god.
Well, no, I think that the idea would be to take over Earth completely, and that would be their new home.
With a bunch of monsters? Does Lucy Liu want to live with monsters? I guess they kind of do. The guards in that world are already...
Yeah, but then that's the thing, is the seed doesn't actually, doesn't do... So the seed would have benefited their world by bringing it back to life, but because they planted it on Earth, it's, tainted and bad, and the monsters come out of it, and it's, evil. So it doesn't even really bring their... So, yeah, she chooses hating on humans over having her world flourish and brought back to life because it's planted on Earth and it's corrupted.
Yes, but they plant it under the dome.
Yeah,
and so I guess they want to destroy Philadelphia really bad.
Yeah,
which if you want to destroy Philadelphia, leave it alone. It'll do that to itself. Watch if the Eagles win one Super Bowl, that whole city's going down. I'm telling you right now. Look, they almost destroyed the city just making it to the Super Bowl. Let them win 1 year. And honestly, the best thing you can do...
The Eagles won a few years ago.
Yeah, I know, but they weren't as ravenous then. I feel like this past year, they were the fans of the Eagles this year, they were climbing them poles. Those poles were greased, and they were climbing them poles. All right? And look, I love Jason as much as the next fan of the New Heights podcast. But the Kelsey brothers are not going to save Philadelphia if Jalen Hurts brings them a Super Bowl next year.
All right, so the villain plot is kind of silly and not very well thought out. It's just kind of messy all over the place.
At the point where Lucy Liu gives up on saving the God world in order to destroy Philadelphia, I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, it's kind of why? But okay. But so then, they have some cool action stuff, some cool fight scenes, some really hard product placement for Skittles.
Helen Mirren is the second person in the movie to get violently impaled through the chest by a tail.
Yeah. Her sister's dragon murders her.
If I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have 2 nickels. But it's weird that it happened twice in a PG-13 movie.
And yet, despite having a hole punctured through her chest about, yay large, she's still alive. Don't worry about it. She's still alive.
Defibrillates her body, even though there's a hole where her heart should be.
Yeah.
And it works.
It does work. I really don't understand the logic, the magic behind it.
And so he's like, hey, I know that you hated me for a reason I don't understand.
No. She can't have been dead because the dome was still there.
So he was just waking her up. She was sleeping.
She was sleeping. She was taking a nap.
Yeah.
She was taking a nap. And so he's like, hey, if I charge up the staff and explode it, is that enough to win? And she's like, oh, yeah, but it'll destroy everything within the dome. And he's like, okay, make the dome smaller. So she does.
And this is where, her motivations never made any sense because, like,
Yeah.
he doesn't offer her anything. It doesn't seem like her position changed.
She's kind of just mad at her sister
She's-
now, which fair. Her
she
sister tried to kill her.
Didn't want to destroy humanity, even though it seemed explicit. Like she hated humanity. Like the villains' motivations throughout the film are so flimsy that they can. It's nice for the writers because they can make them do anything because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they're so flimsy that they can also do anything because it doesn't matter. Like nothing the villains do contradict any position they take because they don't take a position on anything.
Yeah.
Other than you have my daddy's powers and I want those to be in the staff, even though none of this is your fault because you're a child.
And someone gave this power to you. Like, they should be
Yeah.
mad at the wizard, but they're kind
They
of...
should have shown up and been like, hey, we need that apple. Can we have it?
To
And we'll leave
restore
you alone.
our world.
And then Shazam would have been like, yeah, that seems like a reasonable request. It's an apple that sits in the Stone of Eternity that we're not using.
Yeah.
Take it. And then the God world would have flourished. And then the movie would have been over because everyone would have gotten what they wanted other than the power stealing, which seemed unnecessary.
Because they already have their powers.
And it doesn't seem like they get any more. They don't get more powerful when they steal the Shazam powers, which is usually what these movies do, right? Every time they suck a power into the staff gets more powerful, or the wielder gets more powerful.
Yeah, but it doesn't
their powers
change it at
never
all.
change.
No.
Helen Mirren, when she only has Freddy's powers in the staff, is able to create an impenetrable, never-ending dome above all of the downtown Philadelphia area. And it's not like that gets more vibrant when she gets more powers. Like, so
Yeah.
the committee, the stealing the powers from the Shazamily is just like a thing about her daddy that matters until they have the apple. And then once they have the
then it doesn't
apple,
matter
it doesn't matter anymore. And so, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So, anyways, Shazam powers up the staff. There's a big explosion, and he dies.
And I turned to you and I was like, I'm going to love this movie if they actually let him stay dead.
Spoiler alert, they don't let him stay dead.
But you think they do because...
You think they do.
There's a very emotional scene. I cried because I cried everything. Look,
Yeah, I was like, oh,
sue
shit.
me. I'm an emotional boy.
No, I was like, this is actually, like, beautiful. This is well
Yeah.
done. And I was like, you know what? This might actually, like, bump up a movie for me, even though the middle was kind of, like, messy. I was like, you know what? The emotional impact, I think, is actually really strong here.
I do love that
then-
before they do that, though, they do stop the whole movie with the dragon and Shazam inside of a very small dome so that Shazam can fly down and have a conversation with his family while the dragon just roars at Helen Mirren. And, like, the whole movie just completely stops in the middle of an action sequence.
Twice. No.
So that Shazam can fly down to the shield and be like, I've got to let go.
Twice, though. Because then before they did the dome thing, his mom's like, I just want to see your face. And there are, meanwhile, people being slaughtered
Like,
below them.
violently slaughtered. And they're like,
Yeah.
we need to take a second here to see Ash Angel's face for one last.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like, I get it. But also, priorities.
And also the, like, clunkiest dialogue of, I'm gonna miss you, and she's basically like, I love you, and he's like, I know that when I turn 18 you want me to leave, and I will leave. And I was like, what the fuck is this dialogue? Where did this come from?
Yeah, it was a little bit lackluster.
It's so forced because they completely forget about the, like, oh, my family's ripping apart plot for like an hour to explain all of the Daughters of Atlas stuff. And so when it does
And then
come
they come
back
back to
right
it.
before the final action sequence, you're like, oh, yeah, that's what he cared about, I think. But it also seemed like he just wanted his family to fight crime. I don't know what his goals are.
Yeah. So
then-
Shazam dies.
Yes, and it's visually like he is dead and like has like marks on his face. Like it's pretty
He's
bad.
dead. He's dead, and they fucking bury him.
They
but here's
bury
the
him in
weirdest part.
Godland, so
They
he must
go
have
to
been
the
dead for
God world,
weeks.
yeah.
Or maybe a day.
Because they got to go through the door. Yeah. So
It's not like they bring him back quickly.
No.
He's dead for a while.
No. The wizard is like, oh yes, give him a god burial. So they go to a god realm. I'm assuming it's the one that the Atlas Daughters
the
of
same
Atlas
one.
were
Yeah.
in. So yeah, somehow they get there. Fine, cool. I guess.
I don't know how because the
I don't know how.
doors
The doors
are broken, I think.
Well, and the
Or
staff,
there's just a gaping hole in the middle of Philadelphia to Godland.
maybe because the staff doesn't work anymore, right? The staff is dead. The wizard doesn't have any
They
magic.
must have driven back. Oh, no. Anthea has her powers back.
No, she doesn't get
Oh,
that
no,
back.
she doesn't. Wait, no, how the fuck did they get back there?
I don't know.
They must have driven back to the house. Wait, no, but how did they get to the Rock of Eternity?
I don't know.
Because only the champion can open the door. So if none of them are the
and
champion...
there's no champion. The wizard has no powers. Anthea has no powers.
It must be that the dragon broke through the door, and so there's just a gaping door in their destroyed house.
Oh, in the house and not in the lair?
No, but it must be that both doors have to be destroyed open by the dragon.
The dragon just ripped it open.
Well, he literally does. We see that happen, right? So, but it must have stayed ripped open. And so somehow in the middle of the disaster zone that is downtown Philadelphia, they managed to get like 10 of them into
They take his
the
body.
big yellow van.
They
drove to the house.
Home, then walked to the God plane and found a place to bury him. That was very nice, very pretty. And then they're like,
that is the silliest sequence of, like, the cops are like, where are you going with that dead
body.
child?
Yeah, and they're like, oh no, it's ours. Don't worry about it.
It is our child that very much does not look like us. Like, I'm not trying to, like, call out the movie in that, but, like, if you really think about it, it is a family of 2 parents who have 6 kids, one of whom looks like it racially could be their child, driving across town with Jamon Hansu and his giant ass hair and beard and a dead child.
Yeah.
This dead white boy.
And then, if it couldn't get any more ridiculous, Wonder Woman shows up and Deus Ex Machina Shazam back to life.
She literally brings the staff back to life, which brings him back to life?
She smacks it into the ground. So, sure. But it
Skittles.
also gives...
Skittles tame unicorns, y'all, who are the most evil of all creatures, so...
it also brings Anthea's power back, so she's no longer a normal human. She is still a 6,000-year-old god who decides
still
to
wants that 17-year-old dick.
Apparently. Fucking weird, but alright.
Oh my god.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, wow, if they kill him, like, the emotional impact of this movie is, like, it's pretty devastating. But then, no, Wonder Woman comes in and undoes everything, and is just like, hi, I'm Wonder Woman, and...
Hi!
Then leaves. Like, how the fuck did she get there?
Yes,
How
good
did
question.
she leave? How did she
That's also a good
know? Why didn't she show up to help Philadelphia? Like, I know you're busy, and you've got shit to do.
The Dome.
The Dome, I guess, yeah.
She wouldn't have been able to do
couldn't
anything.
Get in, I guess.
That would have been a great sequence, is if Shazam's flying along the dome, and, like, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman are, like, outside the dome, like, go get him! We can't figure this out, so good luck.
The Flash is just bouncing off of it, like...
Yeah. I enjoyed watching this movie. I thought it was funny, but I don't think it's very good.
It's not.
And I think that, like, if it had taken the character of Shazam a little bit more seriously, spent a little bit, come up with a less complicated gods thing to happen, and all of that stuff, I think that it could have been really great. I think that it forgets about the other members of the Shazamily too much in the middle.
I agree.
I think the Freddie Freeman loves thing doesn't work.
Does not work.
It's also weird, and the movie calls out that it's weird.
Yeah, the movie says it's fucking weird.
The parents are like, that's because.
And then Zachary Levi hits on Wonder Woman, and they're like, "Why are our sons into older women?"
But the joke with Freddie Freeman is that they're like, "Oh, that's cute," and then she's like, "I'm 6,000 years old," and it cuts to the parents, and they both
like,
go,
this is
"Oh,
weird, right?
this is uncomfortable now."
Right? Like, this is very strange.
But then in the final dinner sequence, she's there, and they're like holding hands because she's like, "I'm gonna hang out with the common folk," and she like is like common folk, and then grabs this 17-year-old's hand, and I just am like, "Are we supposed to like that?" Or am I, as an adult, supposed to go, no, hebophilia, stop it. That is a child.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the actor's not a child, but, like, that is a child. It's very strange.
It is strange.
And it's more strange because the movie makes a joke about it, but then commits to it.
Yeah. The movie is self-aware and is like, we don't give a fuck. Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about some post-credit sequences. First post-credit sequence. We see Steve G and Jennifer Holliday. Her last name's Holliday, right? Or is it Gunn now?
Well, she did get married, but I don't know if she took the name.
Jennifer Holland. Sorry, I did have her last name wrong. Jennifer Holland and Steve G as their characters from the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Show up. And they go talk to Shazam and invite him to be a member of the Justice Society. This feels like it is setting something up, even though we know there's no Justice Society coming in this Phase 1 slate for DC Studios, so I don't know what this was.
Yeah, James Gunn was like, yeah, we've got a whole plan. Spoiler alert, the Justice Society was not in that plan.
I don't remember them saying Justice Society, but I do like the idea of the Justice Society being in the background of that. It's just weird that, like... It's weird that Waller, at the end of Black Adam, in that post-credit scene, she invites Black Adam to be a member of Justice Society.
Oh, does she? Oh, God.
But, like, can Black Adam and Shazam be on the same team? He is the seventh one of their powers, right?
Yeah,
And also, where did that scene take place? They're literally like in the woods.
in the middle of fucking nowhere, and he's just like electrocuting bottles.
Why is he there? Like
I thought it was gonna be a scene from Peacemaker, and then we're gonna walk up to a fucking trailer with
I need you to kill
John Cena there.
No, the end credit scene should have been those two. They walk up to Peacemaker's trailer and they're like, "Hey, we need you to kill this child," and they show a photo of Billy Batson.
That would have been bonkers.
That would have. Black Adam will only work with the Justice Society if they kill Billy Batson, so he's the only Shazam. Now that's a fucking movie. But yeah, it's just so weird that like the whole movie takes place in Philadelphia, and then at the end of the movie, inexplicably, Shazam is in the middle of nowhere at an abandoned gas station, and they know he's there, which means that he's been there long enough for them to be able to drive there. Yeah. So like, it's just so it's such a weird scene because it starts with them walking down the road from their car, and it seems like they're going to Shazam's lair, but he doesn't have a lair in the woods.
No.
It's so weird.
It's the first time we've ever seen this location. That's why I thought it was going to be like, I thought we were going to see John Cena. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like,
it's so bizarre.
So weird. And then we get a second post-credit sequence that is the same thing basically as Shazam 1 post-credit sequence.
It is the same post-credit sequence. That's the joke. It's the exact same post-credit sequence. It's just 2 years later, and Mr. Mind is still coming and feeding Savannah information, but he still hasn't broken him out. And I think that it is funny. Mark Strong has this giant beard, and he's like, "What? It's been 2 years. Where have you been?" And he's like, "It takes me a long time to get places. I'm a caterpillar." And I thought that joke worked. It might be my favorite joke in the whole movie.
I don't know.
Right after Taste the Rainbow. The Taste the Rainbow is pretty good.
Yeah.
How much did Skittles pay for that? Did they pay more or less than Krispy Kreme paid for the Power Rangers spot?
Probably more.
I don't know. The Power Rangers...
DC is like a big universe.
The entire last third of Power Rangers, Elizabeth Banks says Krispy Kreme like 96 times.
Okay, sure, but they literally are like the closest thing to ambrosia. The nectar of the gods is Skittles.
Yeah, but in Power Rangers, Elizabeth Banks eats like 3 Krispy Kremes on camera.
I don't know. I'm going to say Skittles paid more.
Okay.
Final answer, locking it in.
That's fair. Don't put them in your pockets, kids. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. We did kind of go through more things than I figured, but this movie's kind of a mess. It's fun.
Yeah.
Don't put too much stock in it.
Don't bring your kids.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally, but hey, you do whatever you want. You're a fucking adult. Hey.
Yeah.
Don't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah. I wanted to love it. I really wanted to love it.
Me too.
But...
I love the first Shazam a lot.
Yeah.
I was very excited for this movie. It was definitely a bit of a letdown.
The first Shazam is tight, and this film is not. This film is very confused in what it is trying to say, and unfortunately, the end result is just a real like downgrade from the first movie.
Yeah.
In terms of like the emotional storytelling, and in terms of like the characterizations, and I feel like the actors get the shortest stick here. I think the visuals of the movie are honestly pretty good.
They're great.
And I think like the Shazam suits look amazing. Like the people who get like the worst ride out of the way that it's written is really the actors, because they have to sell some like Rachel Ziegler has to sell some like weird fucking shit.
Yeah.
And she does not feel 6,000. None of them feel that old, but like she definitely doesn't feel like a 6,000-year-old woman, especially when she's trying to date a 17-year-old, even though she knew she was there to trick him. Baffling.
Yeah, it's weird.
Baffling.
Not my favorite movie.
Not Gal Gadot's best performance as Wonder Woman.
Well, no, she doesn't.
She was there to cash a check.
Yeah, she was like, stick to being a superhero, you fucking child. Like, literally, like...
Yeah, I can't imagine this movie's going to make a lot of money. I don't think the word of mouth on it's going to be very good. It already looks like this weekend is not going to do well. And I also think people don't give a shit because DC Phase 1, whatever, right? This might get wiped clean by The Flash in a couple months. So,
yep.
I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that if you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. And if you don't, hit the dislike button. Leave mean comments down below, because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. This episode, that algorithm goddess is Mary Mary, you deserved better. I really feel like of the child characters, Eugene, Eugene
guys
got the shortest stick.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Like,
at least Pedro got to come out of the closet.
True.
Which was very funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
The beat of like, we're superheroes, I'm gay. Oh no, we knew, it's chill.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
No, it was good. It was good. It was a funny moment. I liked it a lot. I also love that he likes baseball because the players are hot. That is, as a young bisexual boy watching football, I was like, I get it. I do understand.
That was pretty funny.
If you want to follow us around the internet, you can. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
And as always, y'all, do something nerdy tonight.
Bye, guys.
Bye.